Hello, hello. I'm back. I'll give you guys a minute to find the new stream. Let's see. Sorry about that, you guys. That was annoying. Those things happen. I think it was my own technical error. I don't think that I got hacked or anything. Bex, welcome back. Nice to see you. All right, with you and me, we can get started. I haven't shown you guys this in a while. And Miss W. So I bought one of these and I love it, but if I make a noise with it, it's noise canceling. So check it out. You guys are probably not going to be able to hear it at all, even if I do it lightly. Can you hear it at all? Anyway, take two. There we go. So it's very satisfying to clap that thing, but then the noise canceling makes it silent. So you guys get ripped off. You don't get the satisfaction. I was behind in video when I said I could hear before, but now we really are back. I was wondering, thanks for explaining that, because I was like, wait, why would you say that when other people are saying no? I thought that was hilarious. Yeah, I think I just screwed things up. So when it said that the battery was low and I wiggled the thing to make sure it was all the way plugged in, and then I put my hand on the other side to push and I hit the off button. So it was me. I wasn't hamburglarized. Not this time. Not this time. So that's the other thing about Scammy that I think we always get hung up on for good reason is what did she mean when she said that? And how come nobody pushed her on it? Wouldn't you like to push her on it? Like, Sammy, what did you mean when you said not this time? Nobody was fighting about who won this time. Not this time. And let's see. Yeah, I was getting ready to wrap up anyway. Okay, we can't hear or see you. LOL. Kidding. Mark, I always know you're kidding now. Too funny. So there, I grabbed my little subscribe, share, notify sign. It's so funny. So here, if I have it front center, everything looks regular. But then if I move it over, anyway, it's just weird. Like working with these screens is weird. And, the angles and everything. All these freaking buttons. What are we supposed to do? Too many buttons. Too many buttons. Too many G's. That's from one of my kids' cartoons talking about like 4G and 5G. And they're like, too many G's. Too many G's. I love it. Too funny. Let's see. I would enjoy interrogating SS. Well, I think that would be the end of you, Sandra. I mean, that girl is obviously protected. Ola from the sunny beach. Oh, don't be hating. You're so nice. So somebody came into the chat a few days ago, probably Friday, and asked if I'd ever seen what was it? Crime Detective or something like that. And I was like, is that a channel? And I guess that's a television show, right? Is it the one with Jodie Foster? Is it like HBO Max or something? And she plays a cop up in Alaska? Because my husband was watching that over the weekend, and man, did that make me happy that we don't live in Alaska. Yeah. Actually, there was a friend of my husband's that worked with him who took a job with the Alaska State Troopers, and he got to be on that TV show, the Alaska State Troopers reality show, and he quickly became the star of it. So I'm always joking with my husband, well, we could do that, and you too could be the Alaska State Trooper stud muffin. Oh my goodness. But you get a lot of wild, crazy stuff out there. Like I was talking about with Native American reservations, and I'm a quarter Native American legally. My kids are a quarter Native American legally. So I don't say anything with any judgment. I'm just saying it like it is as far as I know. And I have a very close friend that I met in college who is half Inuit. So she's half Native Alaskan. And I've learned a lot about Alaska through her. I've had the good fortune of visiting up there 3 different times. And it's a beautiful state, but there's so many challenges living up there that a lot of people don't know. And that TV show, Northern Exposure, did a great job of trying to portray that to the general public, that they get a lot of doctors. Like right now, if you want to become an Alaska State Trooper, there's like a big sign-on bonus. I mean, to me, it's not big. It sounds big, but Alaska, everything is so expensive that money would be gone in a second. It's like a $10,000 sign-on bonus to help you move. Like moving to Alaska, first of all, you wouldn't want to take anything with you because you literally have to like barge everything, and it's going to take 6 weeks and it's going to cost a lot of money. But then when you get there, a lot of professionals that think that they want this great opportunity, they get there and they can't hack it. Some of them literally never get off the airplane. Like they'll fly to these tiny towns and they just look out the window and are like, hell no, I'm not doing it. Others last a week. If you're lucky, the professional that you hired from elsewhere might last a year. And that goes for the bigger towns and cities in Alaska, not just the tiny ones. It's just a very challenging atmosphere, not just geographically and the elements. I mean, those things are huge, and those things kill people up there all the time. And people underestimate the power of Mother Nature all the freaking time. But also, you've got the craziest of crazy. So not only do you have like the clashing of the cultures, but you also have people from all over America and all over the world who try to go to Alaska to disappear because they're in trouble with the law or they're in trouble with a family member or something. Most people this is what I learned when I accepted a job up there. And then I backed out before I ever started. But most people that move to Alaska are running from something, literally. That's not a judgment. That's a fact as far as I know it. So just watching that, I think it's called True Detective, that Jodie Foster thing. It just brought it all back because they're talking about some criminal who like didn't have a social security number and, didn't have any bank info, didn't have any of this, didn't have any of that. And I was like, isn't that half the people in Alaska? I mean, not to be mean, not to be judgmental, but if you don't know anything about Alaska, just watch the Simpsons movie and you'll get all caught up. That movie is hilarious and it's very true to life. So let's just say hello, like Idaho. Look at you. True Detective. That is what it's called. So yeah, I mean, Jodie Foster is great, but man. Oh, and the stories that I've heard about people visiting up there and, from my friend, my dear friend who's native. And then we had family that lived up there. So I've been to Ketchikan, I've been to Sitka, and I've been to Anchorage on 3 different trips. And when we went to Anchorage, we drove to Homer, and Homer is just amazing. I mean, I'd say Ketchikan is really cute. Sitka, I don't know. I don't want to say anything derogatory. All of these places, you're like thousands of miles from the next town over. It's crazy. It's crazy. Homer is a few hours drive from Anchorage, and it's a really cute little town, and you're looking over a bay to some beautiful mountains. I'd say of the places that I've seen, Homer was the most appealing. And still, I was there in the summer. I was there in July, like the 4th of July. And summer's over up there, the 4th of July. I mean, it really is. The weather in Alaska is just a whole nother story. But Anyway, why was I getting into that? Because of that True Detective thing. Like Idaho. I love that comment. Thank you. Kim at me, heifer. She don't know me like that. I would enjoy polygraphing Jägermeister, Scammy, and Kylie's mom. The math ain't mathin'. Yeah, they would all be sad that she's deceased. They'd be kicking themselves for not protecting her, for not making there be different results. The woulda, shoulda, coulda never happened, you guys. That's so suspicious all by itself. That to me speaks volumes. Mark Molina says he's a native too, but I don't know if he's kidding or what. Native Oklahoman? Tell me. Annie, her singing own song at Celebration of Life was different. Did Lindsay sing a song that she wrote? Yeah. I haven't watched it in a long time. I know somebody was rewatching it recently. Let's see. Seeing Red Flags says, I'm a quarter Choctaw. Am I saying that right? I was adopted. Oh, very cool. Very, very cool. Hello, Miss W. I think we're all a little Native American. Well, yeah, we're all a big melting pot for sure. Sorry I missed a bit. I had to go get fever reducer for the fee. Oh no, your fee is sick. My 16-year-old is sick too. He's got a doctor appointment over the phone in an hour. So I'm sure we'll be done by then, but I don't think he really needs me there, but it would be good to be there just to witness it, to check it out, right? Let's see. I'm half and half zoo. Half poo and half zoo. What? Oh no, Shan, I hope he recovers quickly. Yeah, what does he have? My kid did a COVID test this morning. It's the same kid that had the long COVID. His COVID test showed up negative, but the doctor said if it was positive, it would take a day or two to register anyway. Exactly. Sacrificial ceremony feels like Idaho 4 graduated up several to king, etc. Yes, we were going to talk about Idaho 4 before we wrapped up. Thank you, Annie Ruler. Thanks for reminding me. I have some interesting notes about that for sure. But let me make sure that natives live on, I have roughly 33% native in my DNA. The rest is mostly Greek and German. Love that. Don't be hating. I think so too. People move there for a reason. Love the Greeks. Well, interesting too with, let's move over into the Idaho 4 case. There's the Mad Greek restaurant in Moscow that has their original restaurant in Sitka, Alaska. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Anna, it doesn't help that he showers in the AM, has super long hair, and doesn't blow it dry, and then goes out in 20 to 30 degree temps. Yikes. Yeah, he should shower at night or blow it dry. It took me a minute to find you. LOL. I'm a good beanie for when it's chilly, Shan. You shouldn't go outside in the winter with wet hair. Yeah, you just shouldn't go outside in the winter. No, I'm just kidding. The only reason I'd go to Alaska is to see the aurora. Otherwise, hard pass. I've always wanted to see the aurora borealis. And yeah, you have to go in the winter to see that. And I've only been there twice in the summer. So once in July. Ketchikan was August, but again, summer's over up there by then. And then Sitka was in November. And I told you guys the story once before. The day that we flew into Sitka, the cover of the newspaper was talking about Barrows, Alaska, how the sun was setting that day for the next 90 days. Or was it for the next 270 days? I want to say it's 90 days of pure black, and then the 270 days, probably 90 days in the middle of that 270 days is pure light. And I've known people who hung out in Barrows, Alaska, and that's a whole nother crazy. The only reason, the aurora borealis is supposed to be very, very cool, but you should be able to see it from other places too. You don't have to go to Alaska. But yeah, if you're having to suffer through a winter up there, that would be the best part of it. And, you know, a lot of people, like my friend who's native from there, and she lives there because that's where her people are. And she loves it, but she also, you know, the struggle is real. She calls it like a seasonal affective disorder that the whole state has, basically. You know how people talk about like seasonal depression for people over the winter? She's like, the whole freaking state is bipolar. And I can see what she's saying for sure. Not even from dad, grandpa. Oh, Mark, such a good point. The woulda, shoulda, coulda. Yeah. Especially because he says he saw her earlier that same day. And be right back. I'm a quarter Cherokee. Me too, Shan. I would love to see the lights, maybe a cruise. The Alaska cruise would be super freaking cool, unless everybody got sick or unless it sank or, you know. But that would be a really good way to see Alaska. I'm not much of a cruise type of person, but that would be a good setup, I would think. They haven't put any safety preventions around Prosser. Yes, Shih Tzu. I don't know what you're talking about. The Shih Tzu. Oh, the Shih Tzu dog. I love Shih Tzu dogs. I get it. Don't be hating. I definitely part Native American, but I don't know what tribe. Probably Navajo. So see, I was always told that I was part Native American by my father, but I didn't believe him because I knew that he was a scammer. And I knew that everybody was told that they were part Native American. So the tribe that we're part of is Totonto. And Totonto is one of the tribes that has been obliterated out of history. Um, they're from the Kansas region, and they got driven out west with so many others. And they ended up in Tulalip, which is right across Interstate 5 from Marysville. So the first home that my husband and I were able to purchase was in Marysville, Washington. And I moved my practice from Redmond, Washington, up to Marysville. And we lived there for about 5 years before we moved back to Ohio. And then my husband was a police officer for the town north of us called Arlington. And he also was a fish and wildlife officer for Washington State. And he was trying to become an enforcement officer for the state of Washington. So he was getting groomed by the state, and he was grooming himself, and he needed to beef up on his law enforcement experience because he was a rock solid scientist, a zoologist, but he didn't have the law enforcement. And as he got more experience with law enforcement, he realized that he had a real knack for it. So he got into that when he was around, like right before he was around 40, I think. So it was kind of his second career. So his first career was as a scientist, as a biologist. Fee's COVID tests were both negative, but I'm doing another one on him right now before I touch shirts to be sure no yuck will be passed on to Kylie's friends. Oh, that's smart, Shan. Absolutely. Let's see. Kid Logic, awesome Mark, sliding in late sideways. Hey, Ranch Boss, nice to see you. Thanks for coming. Yeah, so I did a long live and then I cut myself off after about an hour and a half. So I came back on basically to say bye, but I also hadn't gotten to the part about Idaho 4 that I really want to share with you guys. So I'm trying to get all caught up and then talking about the episode of Get a Clue that I was watching and talking about Pappa Rodgers. I started to talk about it. So Pappa Rodgers was this character, for those of you that aren't familiar, that was on social media, who looked, the profile picture looked a lot like an artistic rendition of the criminal defendant. And he was saying all kinds of crazy stuff that only the unaliver would know, or maybe law enforcement, like somebody on the inside would know. And so I liked what the Get a Clue content creator was saying about was Pappa Rodgers real, and who is Pappa Rodgers? And he literally says, like, am I Pappa Rodgers? He probably says, are you Pappa Rodgers? But he was asking, like, could the president of the university, Coomer Scott Green, could he be Pappa Rodgers? And I think these are all very relevant questions. But as I'm saying all that, let me also add my disclaimer that everything I say is simply my opinion, simply for the sake of starting a conversation, hoping to open up a discussion with my crew here, hoping to learn something and to be educational. And all my videos to date have been made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. So, yeah, I initially was totally snowed by the Pappa Rodgers and thought, yeah, that's him. Look at his picture next to the Pappa Rodger picture. That's definitely him. And yeah, he knew all this inside info. But then I quickly thought that the Pappa Rodgers could have been somebody from law enforcement. And I loved the Get a Clue saying, like, that maybe he was Pappa Rodgers. Because yeah, you don't know. It could be anybody. It could have been me. But yeah. It's a really important question. So let me stay caught up with you guys. Hope he continues to be negative. You are smart. I don't know if I would have thought about that with the shirts. Yeah, I don't know about the shirts, because remember, like, surfaces aren't as worrisome as we once thought they were. But shirts being fabric, I don't know. I just spray them down with Lysol or something. How bossy are you, ranch? Unless everyone got sick or unless it sank. And I was taught and drilled from the time I was 12 about germs having autoimmune disease. Yeah, so I never stopped thinking about germs and not spreading them. I think about that all the time too, and that, I think, was one of the good things with COVID, is that it taught our culture to be more aware, and to not look at people that wear masks as crazy, because didn't most people who wore masks out in public, didn't most of us think that they were nuts until COVID, and then everybody was doing it? And now when you see somebody, it kind of takes you a second, but you just think, oh, well, they either have it or they're afraid of getting it or something. It's not a big deal anymore. I'm on the chubby side, so cruises are dangerous. Well, isn't it like all you can eat food and alcohol? I mean, there's a lot of danger to it. But again, the germs, that's the thing I would freak out about. Alaska Railway was a great ride. Ooh, I would imagine. My dog is Lasso, and thank you, monks. Let's see. I have Cherokee and Hewitt, but do not know any family history. Dog as a kid was as Haspa. Found out from my birth father I was part Choctaw. Mark, I try to keep the boss mode under my hat. Mum's the word. Love all these Native American heritage in the house. Very cool. Yeah, it can be a touchy subject for a lot of people. Like in Marysville, Washington, there was a lot of money coming in with the casino, with the Tulalip Casino. It was one of the biggest ones in the state. So the tribe was making bank, and people that would be registered Native Americans would get a check, I think once a year, I'm not sure, but they don't want anybody that's not registered to register themselves, because they don't want anyone else getting a part of that. So that was annoying for me, because I have the documentation and I didn't even try to move forward with it, because I just thought it was really rude. But it's something that I think would be wise to do, to be registered. And you can look it up on the internet, but it's all very sketchy. It's like they don't want to assist people in that process. It's extremely sketchy. And, you know, just living in Washington State was interesting because there's such a high Native American population still, and the laws around Native American versus non-natives, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. So that was a lot of what my husband dealt with as a biologist with Washington State. The state of Washington had signed a contract with Native Americans a couple hundred years ago that they would share all of the fish and wildlife half and half. So Washington State has all these biologists to keep track of that, to make sure that it's fair and that it's half and half. So it's just like a whole lot of number crunching and a whole lot of crazy. So they do a lot of like land surveys and air surveys and water surveys. And I was just like, man, like to me, it just seems ridiculous. But it was a great crew that he worked with, and he really enjoyed that work. So it kept him outside all the time. So that was cool. Let's see. And let's see. Shirts get heat treated at 300 degrees Fahrenheit anyway, but precautions are my thing. Did Pappa Rodger show up before BK? The similarity in pictures was crazy. Yes, Pappa Rodger showed up way before BK was arrested. And then there was this troll that showed up in my comment section shortly before he was arrested, maybe like 2 weeks or a week before. And they just like jumped into the chat and said, everybody knows it was an incel. Or no, he said the comment was, all the experts know it was an incel. And I was just like, you know, like, okay, I don't know why you're being rude. Like, that's fine for you to say that, but you don't have to say it in a rude way. And they never said anything again. It was really weird because when it happened, I thought, is this commenter more than just a commenter? I don't know. I've tried to find that video of my own and I just can't find it. It's like that one little part. So I deleted their comment because they were being rude. Like they might have made a comment before or a comment after, but I was like, hey, there's no need to be rude. You know, I'm not going to block you. Just if you're rude again, then I will. But you know, it was back when I had my zero troll tolerance, which I still kind of have a zero troll tolerance, but I guess not really. I'm a little more relaxed about it because I think the trolls help give us a jumping off point sometimes to learn more about ourselves and them. So I try not to be reactive. I try to like work with it. But yeah, it's weird that I can't find that video because for a while I wondered if the video got taken down because it was somebody like from, I don't know, the actual unaliver themselves or from law enforcement or what. But I cannot find that video to save my life. I have tried and tried and tried again. And some of you guys have tried too, but it's just painstaking. Absolutely painstaking. I've like been on this mission many times where I'm like, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to find it. And I just can't find it. It's crazy. So yeah, Pappa Rodgers showed up before BK. BK was arrested like the 29th or the 30th of December of 2022. And Pappa Rodgers showed up at least 2 weeks before that, I think. Maybe even like a month before that. But that profile was saying all kinds of weird stuff. And I don't know if it was the Pappa Rodgers profile who talked about some really grisly details. I wanted to talk about, was it that same channel? Was it the Get a Clue who was speaking to Kathy Mabbitt, speaking about Kathy Mabbitt, the coroner, and how many eye harvests she had done successfully? Because that whole thing with the transplants has been a big deal in the Idaho 4 case from jump. and then it gets forgotten about for a long time. And I just wonder, yeah, there was never any of the red stuff that anybody saw except for the red stuff that was dripping down the side of the house. There were no footprints except that one alleged latent footprint. Nobody ever saw any of the decedents getting removed from the property. There's a lot of weird stuff about that case. And the school has a strong medical research component. I've brought it up in relation to the whole thing with the triplets in that area. When there's fertility drugs, fertility treatment used, parents are more likely to have twins, triplets, quadruplets. So just real curious about the medical research component to the whole thing. And then we all know that the two roommates that were witnesses but not witnesses, Bethany, her last name is the same as one of the medical examiners in the area. I think Cody Funk is the medical examiner's name. The guy is young and he works for one of the hospitals or something. There's a lot of weird stuff in that case. And then when all of those rumors early on about Dylan being trans, and then that weird character Justin that came out onto the streets of YouTube and talked about that the trans was just a clue to the other trans stuff, like not transgender, but the transplant. I mean, that whole case is so freaking bizarre. And yeah, so Pappa Rodgers, I don't know. And then I've brought up many times the whole thing with that Josco1972. And some of you guys will remember and some of you might not. Josco1972 was the one who made the video of himself like this, where he's like, the computer screen is just black and he's talking to it. So you can see him, but his face is blocked and you can hear his voice. And that was weird. Like, that really seemed like it was either the criminal defendant or somebody on the inside, somebody who'd done it, or at the very least was law enforcement involved. The whole thing with the sheath, like that's the one thing that they really want to hang their hat on, the little strand of DNA on the inside button of that sheath. Like, that sheath would be covered in the red stuff if it was actually on the bed next to Maddie and Kaylee, or under Maddie, which either way, whether it was next to or under, especially under, it would have been covered in the red stuff. So you would have had more than one DNA on it. So let's highlight that one and get caught up with you guys. All you can eat, but not free alcohol. Well, that's good, because everybody would be throwing up all over the freaking boat. We're all family. Just got back from Chuckusanti Casino in California. Yeah, see, to me, it's just so weird that gambling is like legalized everywhere. With, when I was growing up, it was legal in Vegas and Reno, and that was it, right? I mean, it was legal in Nevada, but really it was only Vegas and Reno that had it. Back deals. I would need to take a DNA test, but I don't want to do that. I know I'm Native American, Spanish, French, Portuguese, Italian, and Greek. I know I'm worried about doing those DNA tests too, but yeah, I mean, if anybody in your family does one, then they got the goods on you too. I think Alaska just went through a big issue with salmon industries. Yeah, I bet. PsyOps. Yep. I haven't looked for my Hawaii video yet. Sorry. Oh, what Hawaii video? Was this like a a cruise? Because yeah, we could talk a little bit about Hawaii. I've been trying to keep up with Brush Junkie. She's been dropping a lot of information about the corruption with the Maui PD and that that dang blasted police chief. You know, it's important to know that he worked for the Vegas PD for 20 years roughly, but he was only a captain for Vegas PD, I think, for about 12 months before he was hired as a police chief in Hawaii. And he was like the first police chief that was not from Hawaii. And they had a requirement that anybody who was the police chief there had to live on Maui for at least 12 months before they were allowed to be police chief. And they waived that requirement for him. So two big points that they bent the rules for. And it's just weird. Like, why did they want him? And he seems like such a tyrant. Why did they want him unless it was to proceed with this weird, smart city planning kind of thing that I am very suspicious of. And funded with strange dark money, in my opinion. And are you talking about Idaho or other? That was so crazy that it was dripping from the outside. Yeah, it really was bizarre. I mean, I don't think anybody had ever seen anything like that. And it's almost too much. It's almost like that was just a show. That was just like a Hollywood movie set. That was just to convince people that there was stuff on the inside when there was no evidence of stuff on the inside. Contact DNA, no less. Yeah, have to run some errands. Thanks for the live. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Great combo, Anna Bean. Thanks. CB Red Flags. Let's see. CN Red Flags. I knew it was different. I was like, wait, what? CB Red Flags? CN Red Flags. Yeah. Okay. So what else do I want to mention before we wrap her up? We're just at about 40 minutes on this piggyback video. Okay, let's get back to Kylie for a moment and what Carson said when he said too much and he had to go all of a sudden. So he was talking about the buoyancy of the car and how that car is extra buoyant in the back. And then he's doing that thing like dramatizing how the car would do a somersault. Again, 14 feet deep water with a 15.5-foot car. It wouldn't be doing that. But he pretty much said that it couldn't have been, that the car couldn't have gotten into the water like that, right? The car couldn't have driven into the water the way it was said to have by anybody, by an inebriated teenager or anyone else. And then he was talking about how she wouldn't have been able to float from the front to the back because of the dimensions and the skinny passageways. Even though she was skinny, that it would have been close to impossible, if not impossible, for that to happen. And he basically said that she did not float back there. That's what I wanted to say. Carson said, essentially, she did not float back there. And that's when his devices really started going off. And then he was like, oh, I gotta go, right? I don't think Shan's still here to comment on that. Are you, Shan? Anyway, let's wrap her up for today. Thanks so much for coming back into the live, you guys. I really appreciate it. So nice to see you again. We'll try to do this tomorrow yet again. And where did you get your shirt? Always love your style. Had one like that had crosses in the back, and I got bleach on it. Oh, I hate that. This is a Old Navy. Yeah. That's a nice compliment. Yeah, I love the things with the X's and the X's in the back, X's in the front. Oh, check out my little necklace. This is a new necklace that I wanted to share with you guys because it has little X's on it too. I'll have to take it off probably. It's very small, very subtle. And I think it's a Labradorite. Am I going to be able to get it off? Hold on. There we go. I did not make this, but I love it. It's a little out of focus. Let's see. Maybe if I hold something dark behind it. Let's see if this will work. So it's got like the little X's. Do you see that? The way the gold wire is holding the stone in there. I think it's Labradorite. It's kind of like a greenish, grayish. It's a very magical looking stone. But I thought it was cool the way it's got the crossing over. And then it kind of mimics the shirt. There you go. That's a good view of it, huh? Anyway, enough about my jewelry, huh? We haven't talked jewelry in a long time. And you guys know how I am. Once I get started, I can't stop. It's that a stone. Yeah. So it's a small stone. I think it's called Labradorite. It's like I said, it's like a greenish, grayish. I'll look it up. It's definitely more rare. So I just got it. I love it. You guys, thanks again. Love and light to all of you. I hope you're having a fabulous Tuesday. I hope you have a great rest of your day and that you can relax and get good nutrition, stay hydrated, be kind to yourself, kind to others. We'll try to get going with some videos of yoga. I was going to do a yoga position for you guys. But I would want to do that in my yoga studio space. And so maybe I'll try that in the next 24 hours. Just something simple like tree, it doesn't have to be complicated. Warrior is my favorite, because we are the Justice Warriors. And yeah, it's kind of less is more. I think of that with jewelry. I think of that with home decor and art. And also with yoga and exercise, just keeping it simple. You don't have to make it complicated, but just take care of yourself, be nice to yourself, be forgiving of yourself. Side warrior, I feel so powerful. I love doing warrior 2. There's like warrior 1, warrior 2, warrior 3, reverse warrior. I think that's all the warriors, and I like them all, but I really like warrior 2. That's the one where you're with your arms, and I always feel like I got a bow and arrow. I'm gonna shoot a deer or something, although I would never, ever, ever. And yeah, tree is really cool too, because again, it's nice and simple, and it's I don't know. It just feels like a really good pose to do. Maybe that's why it's called tree, because it makes you feel grounded or something. Organic. There you go. All right, you guys. Peace out. Light and love. See you soon. Thanks again. And you're the bomb. Take care.